Hi, and welcome to video number 4. We're going to talk about the expert webinar model. Now, this model is going to help you if you are not an expert in whatever you're trying to promote, or you want to take a simple approach and you want to do the webinar setup and the marketing, but you want to find an expert that will provide you with the content and everything like that. So technically what you're doing here is a joint venture. Now this is the expert speaker JV model, as you can see here, circled in blue. And like I said earlier, you set up and market the webinar. You split it 50-50 or whatever commissions that you decide on, and then you have an expert that provides the content, does the speech, and answers any of the questions that your webinar attendees will have. So technically you're not doing a ton of work, you're not doing any like the product development or anything like that, but you are setting up, you are doing the pre-launch, and you are doing the marketing for the webinar. So you basically have to find an expert that you can walk them through the process of doing. And with this model, you can either promote or pitch your own products or their products, the expert's products. Let's say the expert has, you find them on Amazon.com and they have a book, but not only do they have a book, they have some high-end products on the back end that you could pitch. So what you're doing is you're acting really as the person, like the JV broker or the person that's setting up the webinar. Or you can have your own product. Let's say you do have a product on a certain subject matter in hand, but instead of just promoting their product, you can say, hey, if you teach this material, I will promote your product on the inside of this product. So in this case, you're basically telling them that if they spend just a couple of hours answering questions and providing a detailed webinar for you and your attendees, you're willing to market them and their products. So you could take either approach. Either approach works well. But just keep in mind that with the expert webinar model, it's great because you don't have to provide the content and you don't have to be an expert in that specific field. However, you will have to give up some of the commissions that you get, but at the same time, your content is going to be of value, so you'll probably get that back pretty fast. Now the question is, how do you find expert speakers? Well, there are a number of ways that you can find expert speakers, and here are a number of ways. What I'm going to do now is just talk about where you can go to find expert speakers, and then after this slide, I will show you step by step. We'll go to Amazon and find expert speakers that you can do joint ventures with. And we'll talk about how to pre-qualify them and so forth, because you can't just pick any expert and go after them and do a joint venture with them. You have to do your due diligence and find the right person that will work well with you. Now, as you can see, you can go on Amazon.com, you can go on About.com, you could go to your local market and find local business owners. Let's say I'm doing a webinar on rubber stamping, or I'm doing a webinar on specific crafts like scrapbooking and things like that. A lot of times I drive by the store, this local business owner store who has a scrapbooking store. I could go in there and find her and see if she wanted to do a quick webinar, and in return, in these cases with local business owners, generally they're just looking to promote their store, not necessarily promote their own products. So in this case, you can get by saying, hey, I'll promote your store, I'll feature you as the expert, and I'll list your store in case anybody wants to buy from you. And a lot of local business owners are willing to do that for free if they know that you will be doing the marketing for them. You can also go on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great place where people go to find answers to their questions. In fact, if you log into LinkedIn, you will find discussion boards and things like that where you can find experts and people that are answering questions, because what they're looking for is trying to bring traffic back to their LinkedIn page and to their website. So LinkedIn is another great way to find experts. Niche blogs are also good, and niche forums. So with that, let me show you how, like step by step, how to go about finding these speakers. Now that you know where to go to find these experts, you need to pre-qualify your experts just to make sure that they're the right people that you need to do a joint venture with. Because some people will be promoting a product and really they're not an expert. So you need to go to sites where they are truly the experts. Because, you know, with private label right products, if you know what private label rights products are, they're basically products where people can just slap their names on them and that's it. And the people may not necessarily be an expert just because they're selling or reselling a product. So you definitely want, in this case, to pre-qualify your experts. Now, in order to do that, it's very easy, but you need to create a list of complex questions only experts would know the answers to. And how do you do that? Well, you can go on sites, on niche sites, and maybe find the most common questions and list out the answer. So you need to know the questions and the answers of these questions. Then what you do is you approach these experts and say, hey, I've got this webinar I want to create, and I need an expert. I've contacted several experts, but I'm interested in talking to you. Then you ask them several niche questions beforehand and verify it. And try to stick with complex questions, because if you can find an expert that can answer your complex questions, that's great, because you found an expert that knows what they're talking about. And of course, ask for referrals. That's important, because if you can start out by asking for referrals or go to niche forums and ask for referrals, then it's going to make your life easier, and you don't have to do too much research, but you still need to do your due diligence. Unfortunately, in this world, not everybody is honest. I've encountered many dishonest people who claim to be what they claim to be, and unfortunately, I believe that, and down the road, I found that they're really not the experts. They're just pretending and they're faking it in the beginning. So you definitely want to do your due diligence. Ask for referrals. If you can't find referrals, even if you find referrals, do your due diligence, do your research, go on Google, try to do some research about this person and about their products and so forth. But as you can see here, the Expert JV model is great. It works wonders if you don't know what you're talking about, and if you need an expert speaker to joint venture with, so that you do provide good quality webinar content. So finding experts is pretty much easy to do, but finding qualified experts is a little more difficult. But I'm going to show you how to do that by using several online services. On Amazon.com, you can go and find authors, like book authors and so forth. Now, that does not always mean that it's very easy to contact a specific someone just by looking at Amazon.com. But there are ways to go about doing that. One thing you can do is this. Let's say, for example, that you are doing a webinar on job interviews. So what I can do is type in job interview and look at what kind of books are out there. Now this one was created by Tony Beshaw. So what I would normally do is I would go through here, and you can outsource this if you want, but it comes to be a little bit tedious. But what you need to do is basically search for these people online and see if they have a website. For example, this guy here, you know, he's pretty famous, so he might not have time to do a webinar for me. However, what I could do is I could pick somebody who's smaller and use the same method. And your whole goal is to figure out, okay, this book is doing pretty well. It's not doing superb, but it's doing well enough that this person, I'm sure, is willing enough to do a webinar. So what you do is you do a search on Google for them. See if they have a website. The whole goal here is see if they have a website and see if they're located on LinkedIn. If you can find them on LinkedIn and you can connect with them, then you can contact them and communicate with them what your goals are. And as you can see, you can do the same thing with other sites. The key is to find an author and then search for them on LinkedIn or through Google. Try to see if they have a website, see if they have a contact, an email address, or a phone number on their website. You could do the same thing with About.com. About.com allows you to find experts who will answer your questions. AllExperts.com, you can do the same thing. Search for an expert. If you can't find their contact information, then go on Google and go on LinkedIn and so forth. Now, LinkedIn is another good site. If I go here and I click on groups or answers, I'll go ahead and click on answers and I'll be forwarded over here. This is a great place to find people who are answering other people's questions. So if I go up here to answers, I can search for some people in this box. Let's say I want to do something like job interview. And what I'm looking for are people who are answering people's questions on job interviews. Most likely, if they're answering the questions on job interviews, then that tells me that they are looking to, get free marketing with webinars and stuff like that. And they're looking to get their name out there so that they can answer the job interview questions. These are ideal because they're out there in the field and looking to answer people's questions. So it doesn't get easier than that. And you can contact them through LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is a great site because it's a great professional social networking site. Now, another thing you can do is go on Google and type in whatever niche you're looking for. So you could do job interview in quotations, and then next to it put like forum. And then go to the forum, see if they have any recommendations or referrals to any experts. And you can look through it and see who is responding to people's questions and contact them. You can do the same thing with blogs and so forth. But primarily, I would say the best thing to do is Amazon. Stick with Amazon, find the person, see if they have a website, and then look through LinkedIn.com. I would say these are the top on my list in terms of finding experts.